Hey team, today I'm going to be taking you through our basic warm-up for squatting. This is our optimal warm-up and we break it down into 3 phases. The first being to get blood flow going, or what we call greasing the groove. We're then going to mobilise before we finish off with activating. There are obviously different variations for the type of squatting that you're doing. Today we're going to go through a general warm-up for the back squat, but if you were going to do a front squat or an overhead squat, there would be some additional things that you would need to do. But for today, we're just going to focus on how we're going to get our lower body primed and ready to hit some big numbers. So phase 1 is all about getting blood flow going. So we say greasing the groove is because you might not be feeling 100% ready to squat here. It's just about getting that blood flow and starting to feel the depth of your squat. So the first thing we're going to do is jump onto a machine. We like using the bike erg because it's nice and easy, and we're going to go for a 10 calorie effort. Then we're going to hop off the bike erg and do 10 air squats. And we're going to repeat this twice around. The bike erg is our preferred erg because it is so lower body dominant, but there are other options. There's also the row erg, which could be great, and also the assault bike. This is the first component of our workout, so we want to set the intensity from the first thing we do. So we're going to set the goal of a 10 calorie effort versus just a time domain so that we can start getting a level of intensity in our workout. In our first round, we'll be seated on the bike erg, but in the second round, we're going to go standing. I'm going to move the damper onto level 10. And that will then again really make sure that our legs are starting to get some blood flow going through them. We're now going to move on to phase 2, which is all about mobilizing. And for this, we're going to use a band to get into our hips so they're nice and warm ahead of squatting. So what we're going to do is we're going to tie it around the pole. Nice and tight. I like to use a purple band here, but you can also use a green band if I guess you have more mobility than I do. We're then going to face away from the pole at a right angle. And with the leg that's closest to the pole, we're going to step that into the band and bring it right up to the hip. We now want to come away and then come into our nice long lunge here. So now that I have tension on the band, it's actually pulling actively against my hip so that I'm starting to really open up through here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to keep our back knee on the ground and we're going to try and open and close, I guess, the gate 10 times with a 2-second pause in each phase of that movement. After completing my 10 reps, I'm then going to lift my back knee off the ground, and here I'm going to try and do a push-up with both hands on the inside of my foot, sinking to the floor and then back tall. But here it's not about really the push-up phase, it's actually about getting deep into our hip and allowing it to really open up. Now that my hips are feeling nice and mobile, I'm then going to come into a low squat assisted with a plate. And this is again starting to replicate a bit more of the squatting movement that we're going to be doing later on. But as well, we're feeling a nice mobilization through our ankles and hips again. So what I'm going to do is come down into my squat. And I'm actually going to hold this plate out in front of me. It's helping me balance so that I'm not tipping forward or back. And I'm able to sit right and deep into my squat here. If you are someone who finds that your ankle mobility is something that restricts your squatting depth, this next step will be really helpful for you. So what I'm going to do is come over to the bench. I'm going to raise one foot on top of the bench. Then I'm going to sit right, driving my knee as far over the toe as I can get here. I'm actively pulling against the bench to have a level of resistance, which is allowing me to really stretch there through my ankle. I'm going to pull hard for 5 seconds and then going to relax for that 1 second before coming back again. Blood flow, check. Mobilization, check. It's now time to activate. And the first thing we're going to focus on activating is our glutes. So you've probably seen one of these booty bands before. I'm going to put it below my knees. And from here, I'm going to do some banded step outs. So I'm focusing on doing 10 on each leg. I want to have a slight bend in the knee, thinking of the weight shifting back in my hips. And I'm then coming for a nice wide stance, getting that a little bit wider. And then again, so it's big to bigger each step. Now that our glutes are activated, we're then going to move on to our quads. And for this, we're going to do what is called a Spanish squat. So again, I've got another band and I'm going to tie it around a pole, bringing it nice and low, about at knee height. Now that I am set up so that my knees are in the band, I'm then going to step away from the pole so that we have a level of tension that's almost bringing my knees forward. And then I'm going to squat down full depth, and as I raise up, I'm thinking about actively driving my knees back against the band. First 5 reps might feel easy, but we're gonna do 20 of these, and by the end, your quads will be on fire. A big part of our squat is being able to brace through our core to protect our midline. So we're gonna activate our core through doing what is called a dead bug. Really easy. We're just gonna lay on the floor, then we're gonna bring our knees up into a 90-degree angle, and then have straight arms, and our opposite hand to opposite leg is gonna lengthen, not making sure we're keeping contact with our spine on the floor. Lengthen, opposite hand, opposite foot. If you're feeling advanced, you can also do double leg and double hand. And finally, we're gonna do what is called a tibialis raise. So it's this funky machine. You may not have one in your gym. I'll demonstrate first how to use this one before showing you an alternative that you can do. So how we're gonna use this machine is we're gonna bring it up to the front of our bench before sliding in my feet. And then we're gonna come with straight legs and just bring my ankles and heels off the bench. And then I'm gonna lengthen to get 180 degrees, nice and straight, before contracting, bring my toes towards the ceiling. And then again. So we should feel a nice length through the front of our shins on each rep. Like we mentioned, you may not have one of these at your gym. So instead, what we're gonna do is just sub that out for a dumbbell. So we can do the exact same thing, heels on the edge of the bench this time, and we're gonna bring the dumbbell and holding it between our feet, and we're then gonna lengthen with our toes before contracting again, toes towards the ceiling. And that is our 3-phase process completed. The next thing we would do is obviously progress to using the barbell. And again, we would start with an empty barbell before progressing towards any weight. But this has set us up for success to have a really good squatting session. Hope you enjoyed this video. Comment any questions down below. We're excited to make more educational content like this in the future.